What up, my fellow Knicks fans? This is your guy Marcellus Ease, and don't panic quite yet. Now, we all know our beloved Knicks are actually right now in rebuilding mode. You know, we're shaping up, to free up some cap space, build up some assets, keep our draft picks. But, as a collective, we got to start looking at our division, because the Atlantic Division in the NBA right now is shaping up to be one of the toughest divisions in the league. Now, as you know, we're going to have some of the top players in the league. They're going to be in our division, such as Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving. These are some of the top players in the league, and they're going to be playing within our division. So we need to see where we need to be at going forward, and basically where some of these teams are going to be going forward. Because some of these teams, even though they have top players competing right now to basically get at a championship level, but they also have flexibility. The Celtics have flexibility to relieve some cap space, after I believe within the next 2 years. Same thing for the 76ers. And we also have teams in our division such as the Brooklyn Nets. They're actually in rebuilding mode, and they're actually going to have the draft picks for this year. They're actually going to, have some chances to actually build up some assets, as they do have cap space. So things are shaping up to be a lot different than what it is now within our division. Either some of these teams can become very dominant early, like the Boston Celtics and the 76ers, or teams down the line could become dominant, like the Brooklyn Nets and even the Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors got one of the top players in the league, Kawhi Leonard, and they also have flexibility within the next 2 years as far as cap space. Even within next year, they have flexibility. So we're going to take a look at this team by team. Okay, so let's start off with the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Brooklyn Nets finally have their draft picks. They're finally getting that jersey smell off of them and trying to get acclimated within the Brooklyn scene, because right now, even in Brooklyn, people don't even talk about the Nets. They basically showed up to Brooklyn just coming off of New Jersey, and then they showed up with a Boston Celtics look-alike team. It wasn't really the great branding on the Nets' part, as they started off their first 7 years in Brooklyn. It was kind of a flop. So basically, they did also get rid of a lot of heavy contracts, such as the Mozgov contract and the Jeremy Lin contract. They got rid of those over the summer, which is a good look for them. Now they're gonna have some cap space, and also they have the third-year coach. They kept the same coach, Kenny Atkinson, and they also built up quite a team with some vets. They added Kenneth Faried, Shabazz Napier, and they also added Jared Dudley. Now, looking at their payroll, pretty much they're locked. The only players that they're pretty much locked in to one of their first round picks. They're locked in to 2022. Not that much cap space, about $3 million. But other than that, everyone else besides Allen Crabbe, he comes off the books in 2020, is pretty much good to either resign or they're good to leave. The Nets have good flexibility. Even with some of their best players, such as D'Angelo Russell, they have flexibility on them. The Nets can actually just start over. And right now, as far as going into this season, this team is still I'm not saying they're very good. They're much better than what they were last year. They added a lot of veteran presence. Basically, right now with this team, they have enough to compete, day in and day out. And then they're very deep. They have a bunch of, I don't want to say mediocre guys, but they have a bunch of guys that can come in and, submit themselves, at least have some sort of presence on the court. They shouldn't be a bad team at all. Actually, this team right now, they should compete pretty well in this division. Basically, the Nets this season, they should be competing every game. The Nets should be able to compete night in, night out. They have good talent. Their bench is very deep. This is one of the teams, I'm not saying people should be looking out for in the Eastern Conference, but you shouldn't really take this team lightly. Playing at a faster pace, like I said, they have a third-year coach. The Nets are headed towards the right direction. This is one of the reasons why the Knicks have to make sure whatever moves they're making for the next couple of years, it has to go in a good direction, because teams like this, they're basically going to have a clean plate to start off, to just start over. So they can go after free agents, they have draft picks. So this is one of the reasons why I think overall we should start looking at the overall division, because things are going to be changing and things are going to be taking shape. Now the next team to look at is probably going to be one of the top contending teams in our division going forward, is the Philadelphia 76ers. The 76ers do have a very good point guard in Ben Simmons, very versatile. Only thing, he's gonna have to work on is his jump shot, and that's something that's very, it's very workable. He can adjust and pick up a jumper. There's been many players that came in through the NBA and they didn't have a jumper and they developed it over time. They have the combination of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. This team overall is very deep. They have a lot of young, good talent, and they also have flexibility of cap space. The only guy that's pretty much locked in is Joel Embiid. But another point I also want to bring up is Markelle Fultz. This guy, depending on what he does, he could be a huge factor for this team. This guy is 6'5". He's pretty big. Defensively, he's a pretty good player. But if his jump shot comes along, this team could be a problem. They're gonna have Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz in the wing. As far as defense and as far as pace, this team is gonna definitely bring it. As far as contract, they're locked into Robert Covington until 2022. So he's also pretty good. And they have Wilson Chandler. He's injured right now, but this is a new addition to the team. Dario's one of their draft picks. He's a very good power forward. This guy either in the bench role or in the starting role, he's a very nice, good filler for this team. Basically, their small forwards and their power forwards are very flexible on this team, as they can mix and match between Robert Covington, Wilson Chandler, Dario. I mean, this team, in power forwards, they have some depth in that position. What makes up for all that, even though if they're lacking in size, is that they have Joel Embiid. I mean, this guy per minute, his output is insane. This guy could be one of the, a top 5 player in this league going forward. And like I said, this team is within our division. And same thing for Ben Simmons. He's definitely going to be a top 10 player when he comes into his own. And like I said, these teams are within our division, and they also, a team like Philadelphia, they can compete now, but they still have flexibility because they have enough young talent and rookie contracts that they can also acquire free agents. Like, once again, looking at their payroll, they're pretty much locked into guys that were draft picks or unsigned. They don't have too many contracts that they're locked into. Only Robert Covington and Joel Embiid right now. Now, next up is the Boston Celtics, a team that we love to hate. And unfortunately, the Boston Celtics, they're in a pretty good position. We all love the Knicks here, but we're going to have to realistically look at our division overall. And the Boston Celtics are in a very good position right now to compete for a championship. They pretty much check off everything in the box for a championship team. They have a young coach. They have a bunch of guys that have been in their system for years. You know what I'm saying? Like, and most of their players are fairly young. And then their depth is very deep. I mean, they have backup guys that can come in and play starting roles within their system on their team in case of injury. Now, they recently re-signed Marcus Smart, so they're pretty much locked into Marcus Smart, which isn't bad at all. And also, they're pretty much locked into Gordon Hayward into 2021. They recently signed him, and they're also locked into one of their first-round picks, which isn't a lot. It's just over $3 million in cap space. Not too bad. Everyone else is pretty much by 2020 season, they can either opt out or leave the team or get re-signed. And that includes Kyrie Irving, and that includes Terry Rozier. Now, Kyrie Irving agreed to, he basically said that he's going to re-sign with the Celtics. We'll see if that happens. And Terry Rozier is pretty much looking for a starting role, and it doesn't look like the Celtics are going to commit to him. So that's one thing. That's one I guess negative for that team, that Terry Rozier most likely will leave that team. But like I said, they're still in a very good position to win currently. But they do also have the flexibility after 2020 to either acquire new free agents or trade away some of these high picks that they got for other assets. So this team is still very flexible, but this team looks like will renew Kyrie Irving. And like I said, they're gonna have a top talent in the league. He's one of the better point guards in the league. But it'll be interesting to see how the dynamic of Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward plays out within his team, because last year we saw their chemistry pick up very well, but there was no Gordon Hayward. And then, you know, having Kyrie Irving back, how will that really affect Rozier this season going forward? Because, you know, some of these guys do have ambitions and goals to actually be starting players in the league and use their earning potential to the fullest right now. Like I said, the Boston Celtics, this is going to be one of the teams that are going to be probably at the top of our division. Right now, I have them in between a tie with Toronto. The only reason I have them in between a tie because we don't know what they're going to do with Haywood and Kyrie Irving back. We don't know how that's going to affect the chemistry. And also, you know, most of these guys only play 30 minutes a game. Most starters play 30 minutes a game. You know, this is a very deep rotation team. Like I said, the chemistry between, you know, adding Kyrie Irving back and Gordon Hayward, we don't know how it's going to affect the team. All I know, you know, so far in the preseason, the Celtics haven't really looked as good. But we'll see what happens. But this is going to be one of the top teams within our division, and we're going to have to watch out for it. And last but not least, we're going to go over the Toronto Raptors. They added a top 5 player in the league, I would have to say, in Kawhi Leonard, which is definitely an upgrade for this team. They also added Greg Monroe at center. This is a great backup to Valanciunas, but Greg Monroe gives them a little depth at that position. Also, they have Serge Ibaka. And then OG Umbre is one of their younger players. He's actually rising. You know, this preseason, he's been playing very good. I mean, like I said, Toronto, they have good depth on this team. And actually, the front court with Kawhi Leonard, Toronto Raptors can basically combine different lineups and have a great perimeter defending by having Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green on the floor at the same time. So defensively, this team, you know, they've actually increased their efficiency. And then also they have Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry, you know, he can still do his thing night in, night out, but not all the pressure is going to be on him. But we'll also like to see how Kawhi responds to being basically the go-to guy on a team. Now, looking at their contracts, Kyle Lowry is basically locked into 2020. And, you know, basically, you know, we'll see if the Raptors can get Kawhi Leonard to actually stay on the team, which I believe they can, because he would have to deny that max deal. Overall, I still haven't really seen too many players, you know, after the salary cap went up, to actually deny the max deal. We've seen Paul George stay, and I believe it's going to be a trend, because a lot of teams who normally couldn't get free agents are going to start trading for them and then forcing them to make decisions on not getting the ultimate max. That's like a new way of smaller market teams to obtain, you know, top level talent within the league. When I say top level, I mean like top 10 players. Basically, the Raptors are also, they're only locked into Norman Powell into 2022. And then they're also locked into one of their first round picks for about $3 million. So once again, you know, this is another team that can compete within our division for a championship, especially this year. But they also have flexibility to basically wipe their plates clean and start over. So like I said, the Atlantic Division is very interesting because there's teams that can do their thing now, but they still have flexibility with draft picks and they have flexibility with cap space. So overall, our division, things are changing. But, you know, as far as our Knicks, the decisions that they make right now of who to obtain going forward as far as free agents, draft picks, you know, trades, these things are going to be very crucial, because there's a lot of teams within our division that kind of ahead of us as far as getting, you know, talent through the draft or through trades, but they also have the same flexibility as us as far as cap space. So we'll see what happens there. You guys leave a comment, let me know what you think. You know, shit is changing, man. I believe our division is going to be one of the best divisions. And we have Porzingis in our division also. So we're going to have, you know, as far as the young players coming up, a lot of them is going to be within our division. So, you know, you guys let me know what you think. Y'all stay safe. Peace.